Rain lashed against the diner windows as Maya, bone-tired, cleared the billionaire's plate. $1. Really? She breathed, the word barely audible above the clatter. But he heard. He saw the exhaustion etched on her face, the same exhaustion mirrored in his own soul, an exhaustion she couldn't yet know they shared. Maya Reynolds was 26, but her soul felt ancient, worn by years of carrying burdens too heavy for one person. Her Brooklyn apartment was a showbox, its thin walls echoing with the ghosts of unpaid bills and hospital letters. Her father, James, had once been a giant, a mechanic whose hands could fix anything, whose laughter filled their home like sunlight. Now chronic heart disease had stolen his strength, leaving him tethered to an oxygen tank, his pride crumbling with every labored breath. Her mother, Ellen, had been their anchor, a nurse with a quiet strength until breast cancer claimed her 8 months ago. The grief was a wound Maya couldn't close, reopened daily by the empty chair at their kitchen table. Then there was Alex, her 15-year-old brother, whose autism made the world a kaleidoscope of chaos. Maya was his compass, guiding him through school, therapy, and the city's relentless noise. She spent nights deciphering his algebra homework or soothing him when a siren sent him spiraling. Her love for Alex was fierce, a fire that burned through her exhaustion, but it demanded everything: her time, her energy, her dreams. Those dreams lived in a tattered notebook under her mattress, an event planning business called Heart and Soul Events. Maya imagined crafting moments that mattered: weddings with wildflower arches, fundraisers with live jazz, children's parties bursting with color. She'd sketched every detail from table settings to lighting in stolen moments between shifts at Café Neuer, an upscale Manhattan diner where the city's elite dined. The tips should have been generous, but too often they were scraps barely covering rent, medical bills, or Alex's therapies. Every paycheck was a drop in a leaking bucket, and Maya was running dry. At the diner, she was a master of mass. To the customers, she was warm, efficient, the perfect server who remembered their orders and laughed at their quips. But inside, she was fraying. The weight of her life pressed harder each day, and the hope she'd once clung to was slipping like sand through her fingers. Thomas Whitaker was a regular at Café Noir. Though Maya barely noticed him at first, he always took the same stool at the counter, ordered black coffee and apple pie, and left without fuss. At 47, he was a billionaire, the founder of Whitaker Technologies, a company that had revolutionized data analytics for small businesses. His tailored suits and reserved demeanor blended into the diner's parade of wealth. But his eyes told a different story, haunted, searching, as if he were chasing something he'd lost long ago. Thomas had grown up in a small Ohio town, the son of a factory worker and a school teacher. His path to success was a battlefield of failure startups that collapsed, loans that buried him, nights spent questioning his worth. But he had a gift for seeing potential where others saw dead ends, a skill that built his empire. He came to Café Neuer for its anonymity, a place to watch the world without being watched. Lately, though, he'd been drawn to mine out her beauty, but her resilience, the way she moved through the diner with quiet grace, even when her eyes betrayed her exhaustion that night. As the rain battered the windows, Thomas was distracted. A board meeting had left him unsettled, his company's growth pulling him further from the man he'd once been. He barely noticed Maya as she poured his coffee, her hands steady despite the strain etched into her face when he left a single dollar as a tip. It wasn't cruelty, it was absence. A man lost in his own regrets. Mia's shift had been a gauntlet. A tray of drinks had crashed, soaking her uniform. A customer had snapped at her over a cold burger. A text from her landlord rent was overdue. Again, had left her stomach in knots. When she cleared Thomas's plate and saw the lone dollar bill, something inside her snapped. That dollar wasn't just a tip. It was a mirror reflecting a world where her efforts meant nothing. She thought of her father's hospital bills, Alex's therapy, the notebook under her bed. The injustice burned like acid. $1 really. The word slipped out. A whisper of rage meant for no one. But Thomas heard. He looked up, his eyes locking with hers, and the diner's chaos faded to a hum. Ma's cheeks flushed with shame, but she couldn't look away. There was no anger in Thomas's gaze, only guilt. Then a flicker of something deeper, like he'd just seen her for the first time. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice low and steady. He pulled a crisp $100 bill from his wallet and slid it across the counter. "I didn't mean to upset you. I've been coming here for months and I see how hard you work, how you hold this place together. I want to help even if it's just a little." Maya stared at the bill, her heart pounding. Pride screamed at her to refuse to tell him she didn't need his pity. But the weight of her life, the endless bills, the sleepless nights kept her silent. She took the bill, her throat tight, and managed a quiet thank you. As Thomas left, he placed a business card beside the bill. "If you ever want to talk about anything, call me." "I mean it." His voice was earnest, almost pleading, as if he needed her to believe him. Maya's life at Café Neuer wasn't solitary. She had Lena, a fellow waitress who'd become her confidant. Lena was 30, a single mother with a sharp wit and a knack for reading people. She'd seen Mia's struggles and shared her own, bonding over late-night shifts and dreams they both kept buried. Lena was the first to notice Thomas's frequent visits, teasing Mia about Mr. Fancy Suit, who always watched her a little too closely. When Mia showed Lena the business card, Lena's eyes narrowed. "Be careful, Maya. Rich guys like that, they always have an angle." Lena's skepticism came from experience. Her ex had been a charming businessman who left her with nothing but a toddler and a broken heart. But she also saw the spark in Maya's eyes, the flicker of hope she hadn't seen in months. "If you're going to call him, do it for you, not because you owe him." Lena's words stuck with Maya, a reminder to trust her instincts. But the card burned a hole in her pocket, a symbol of possibility in a life that offered so few for weeks. Maya hesitated. She'd met too many customers who made empty promises only to disappear. But Thomas's words lingered, as did the look in his eyes like he saw her. Not just the waitress, but the person fighting to survive. One night after a brutal shift, and a call from the hospital about her father's worsening condition, Ma sat at her kitchen table, the card in her hand. Alex was asleep, the apartment quiet, except for the drip of a leaky faucet. She opened her laptop and typed an email, pouring out her dreams of an event planning business, her frustrations, her fears. She hit send, her heart in her throat. Thomas replied within minutes. "Let's meet tomorrow. I want to hear more." The words felt like a lifeline, fragile but real. They met at a cozy midtown cafe, Maya clutching her notebook like a shield. Thomas listened as she shared her vision events that weren't just parties, but moments of connection, celebrations that left people feeling seen. He asked questions, not patronizing, but curious about her goals, her challenges, her why, when. She mentioned her father's illness and Alex's struggles. His eyes softened. "I grew up with nothing," he said, stirring his coffee. "No money, no connections, just a stubborn streak. I failed more times than I can count, but I kept going. You're like that, Maya. You don't give up. Let me help you start." Mia was wary. She'd learned to trust actions, not words. But Thomas offered more than promises. He gave her contacts in the event planning industry, advice on branding, and a $5,000 seat investment to build a website and pitch to clients. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to make her dream feel. Real Maya threw herself into her business, naming it Heart and Soul Events to reflect her mission. Her first event, a fundraiser for a local youth center, was a success, earning her glowing reviews and new clients. But success brought new pressures. A high-profile client, Vanessa Lang, a wealthy socialite with a reputation for breaking vendors, hired Mia to plan a lavish gala for her charity foundation. The event was a golden opportunity. If Mia nailed it, her business could soar. But Vanessa was relentless, changing plans daily, criticizing Mia's ideas, and demanding perfection. The stress spilled into Ma's personal life. Alex was struggling. At school, his meltdowns more frequent as his routine was disrupted. James's health was declining, his doctor warning that a heart transplant might be his only hope. The cost was astronomical, and Maya's savings were already stretched thin. One night after a heated call with Vanessa, Maya broke down in her apartment, sobbing into her hands. Lena, who'd come over with takeout, pulled her into a hug. "You're stronger than this, Maya. Don't let that woman break you." Lena became Maya's rock, helping her juggle shifts and brainstorm event ideas. But even Lena couldn't shield her from the growing whispers at Café Noi. Other servers speculated about Mia's connection with Thomas, some with envy, others with suspicion. "What's a billionaire doing with a waitress?" one co-worker sneered. The rumors stung, planting seeds of doubt. Was Thomas's kindness too good to be true? One evening, while planning an event at a community center, Maya met Clara, an older volunteer who'd known Thomas years ago. Clara's eyes lit up when Maya mentioned his name. "Thomas Whitaker. He's a good man, but he's haunted. Lost his sister Emily when he was young. She was like, you, full of fire, always helping others. Cancer took her. He's been trying to make up for it ever since." The revelation hit Maya like a tidal wave. Thomas's kindness wasn't just generosity, it was personal. She reminded him of Emily, the sister he couldn't save. The realization deepened her gratitude, but also complicated her feelings. Was his support for her, or for the ghost of someone else? She confronted him at their next meeting, her voice steady but searching. "Clara told me about Emily. Is that why you're helping me?" Thomas looked away, his jaw tight. "You're not Emily," he said softly, "but you have her heart, her fight. Helping you feels like I'm doing something right for once. But I believe in you, Maya, not just her memory." His honesty disarmed her for the first time. Maya saw the man behind the wealth man carrying his own scars, trying to find redemption in a world that had taken too much. As the gala approached, Mia faced a new hurdle. Vanessa's assistant, Ethan, a charming but ambitious young man, began undermining her. He accidentally sent wrong vendor details, causing delays and whispered doubts about Mia's competence to Vanessa. Mia sensed the sabotage but couldn't prove it. The pressure was crushing, and when Alex was suspended from school after a meltdown, Maya nearly canceled the gala. Thomas stepped in, offering to cover costs for an assistant to lighten her load. But Vanessa's earlier warning echoed. Men like him always want something. Mia's trust wavered, but she couldn't afford to refuse his help. Lena, ever the skeptic, dug into Ethan's actions and discovered he was angling for a promotion by discrediting Mia. Armed with evidence, Mia confronted Ethan, exposing his sabotage to Vanessa. To her surprise, Vanessa apologized, impressed by Mia's tenacity, and doubled her budget for the gala. The event was a triumph, a night of elegance and heart, with a silent auction that raised thousands for charity. Ma's reputation soared, and heart and soul events became the talk of the city. But the victory was bittersweet. James's condition was worsening, and the transplant loomed like a storm cloud. A phone call from a lawyer changed everything. An anonymous investor had been funding Mia's business for months, covering costs she hadn't questioned: venue deposits, marketing campaigns, even her assistant's salary. The investor was Thomas. Maya was stunned, her emotions a tangle of gratitude and betrayal. She confronted him, her voice shaking. "Why didn't you tell me? I deserve to know." Thomas sighed, his eyes weary. "I didn't want you to feel like you owed me. I wanted you to build this on your own terms, to know it was your talent, not my money, that made it happen. I'm sorry if I crossed the line." Mia's anger softened. She saw the sincerity in his eyes, the quiet pain of a man who'd spent years trying to fix the unfixable. Thomas wasn't just her mentor, he was her partner in this journey, someone who believed in her when she doubted herself. James's health crisis came to a head. The transplant was his only hope, but the cost was staggering to $100,000 beyond. What insurance would cover? Thomas offered to pay, but Maya refused. "I can't keep taking from you," she said, her voice breaking. "This is my family, my fight." Inspired by her own events, Maya organized a citywide fundraiser, pouring her heart into a night that rallied her community. She called it Hearts United, a gala with live music, heartfelt speeches, and a silent auction featuring donations from local businesses. Lena took charge of logistics, while Alex, in a rare moment of confidence, designed the events posters. The night was electric. Hundreds gathered, their stories of struggle and hope weaving a tapestry of solidarity. The auction raised $150,000, enough for the transplant and a fund for other families in need. Turi. As Maya watched her father dance with Lena under the twinkling lights, tears streamed down her face. She'd done more than save his life. She'd built a legacy of love. 5 years later, Maya stood on a stage at a gala for her foundation, Heart and Soul Giving, which supported families facing medical crisis. Her business was a phenomenon known for events that blended elegance with empathy. She'd hired James as a logistics consultant, his laughter echoing through their office. Alex, now 20, was studying graphic design, his artwork a staple of Mia's events. Lena had become her business partner, her daughter, a fixture at their planning sessions. Thomas remained a constant presence, not as a savior, but as a friend. Their bond had deepened, rooted in shared scars and mutual respect. Maya knew her success was a partnership not just with Thomas, but with Lena, Alex, and the community that had lifted her up. That $1 tip, once a symbol of her despair, had become a spark that ignited her future. As she spoke to the crowd, Maya shared her story, the pain, the triumphs, the moments when she'd nearly given up. One gesture, she said, her voice trembling. One moment of being seen can change everything. It did for me. The room erupted in applause, but Maya's eyes found Thomas's. They shared a silent understanding, a bond forged through time and trust. That single dollar had been a bridge between two lives, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope could find a way. Maya's journey didn't end with her success. She became a mentor, guiding others with dreams, but not the means. Her events were lifelines, reminding people they weren't alone. Every year, on the anniversary of that night at Café Noir, Maya left a $1 tip at a random diner with a note. You are enough. Keep fighting. Someone sees you. Thomas found his own redemption. He launched the Emily Whitaker Foundation, funding small businesses for those with big dreams. He never sought the spotlight, but Maya knew his heart, the quiet man who changed her life with a single dollar. One evening, Mia stood on her apartment's fire escape, the city's lights stretching before her. She felt her mother's presence in the breeze, her father's laughter in the distance, Alex's dreams taking flight. She'd made it not just for herself, but for her family, her community, and the countless lives she touched. And it all began with a moment, a dollar, and a waitress who dared to speak her truth.